Hi, I'm Mitch, and welcome to the Restoration Road, where my guests today are Rick and Tina Walters, founders of Fort Wayne's smallest winter. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
I really appreciate it. Rick, our hairstyles are quite similar. Someday I may go all the way, but we go way back. And your dad, Verge, was quite a car collector. He owned Wayne Asphalt, and you guys, your family still owns it. You own it still. And we also crossed paths at Black Hawk when I was volunteering there full-time as a teaching pastor. And because of the time we've spent together, I know more things about you than I know about everybody else that comes on the show. And I just think there's a catalyst in your heart to help people that got lit a little bit through tragedy. And I'd like you to talk about when you were 19 and the couple losses that you had.
I was quite a water skier. As a matter of fact, I was going to college in Florida so I could water ski. And we were down at the river in the Leo Cedarville area. And all my friends were in for our last gathering. And my friend was killed in an accident. I was driving the boat. He hit his head standing in the boat. Just an accident, but at 19 years old, it rocked my world.
Oh, yeah.
And probably for the most part, it was the beginning of protecting myself from being hurt.
Yeah. You kind of had a shell start to come over you.
Absolutely.
And then I think shortly after that, you had another friend.
Yeah, I remember that. It was in March. My dad called me and had to tell me my next best friend was killed in an accident. And probably the reason I water skied, that was my greatest friend then at that time. And I know that was so hard for my dad to call me and give me that information, but it just reinforced that shell I was putting up, that not to let people get close because it was going to really hurt. And at 20 years old, you wonder who's going to die next. So that was kind of the beginning of me perhaps going in a shell and sheltering myself from future loves.
Sure. How old were you when you met Tina?
I would have been probably about 33.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the college thing. You worked with your dad for 4 years. You owned a gym, right?
Yeah, I had a gym my dad brought me back to help me. That was my passion, was fitness, and kind of bodybuilding at the time was what attracted me to it. And he brought me back to Fort Wayne to open a gym. I probably would have did it in Florida eventually, but
think what the property would have been worth, Ricky.
So as part of that process, near the end of my gym, I met Tina, and that's kind of where it all began to change.
Tina, talk about what you saw in him, and including the shell.
I saw a very rough exterior and shell, and it intrigued me because I had 2 brothers and a sister, and I kind of felt like he was just putting up this wall, and I felt like this connection to him, like when we met, that I could somehow chisel away at that wall. And I knew there was a soft soul down there. I just didn't know how to get there. And with time, we eventually peeled away the layers, and he's just this big little teddy bear inside.
Tell me about that letter.
The letter, yes. Well, we were dating. It was only about a month that we had been dating, and he just was so hard to get through to. And so I thought, well, the best way to get through to him, now mind you, this was 22 years ago, before Facebook and social media.
Right.
So I did the old-fashioned snail mail, and I hand wrote just all the things I felt about him. And I handed it to him. I told him to go home and read it. And literally, I was point on every point. And I only knew him a month. Things I said about him that I felt like there was this wall that he was holding and not letting people in. And he put this tough guy act on when really he didn't need to do that. That, he could be himself and be real, and I wouldn't hurt him. And he told me later on that each point that I had written about him was the truth.
Wow. That's just incredible.
It really is. I mean, now that we look back 22 years later and we can read the letter, like he says, how did you know that about me? And I feel like it was totally meant to be, obviously. God doesn't make mistakes when he brings people together.
Amen. Now, your upbringings were radically different, right?
Very different.
Rick grows up in a traditional Christian home. You went to church probably 3 times a week,
Absolutely.
kind of thing, like me. Yep. And describe what your upbringing was like.
Mine was crazy. I went to 17 different schools
Oh,
before
my.
the time I went to high school, and I went to 3 different high schools. My mom had been married several times, and I had several different stepfathers. Church was really not a huge part of my upbringing. My Nana and Grandpa, when I would go spend summers in Chicago with them, was the church I would get, which was Catholic. And it wasn't until I had my daughter, which was at age 19, that I decided I wanted to make sure that she had a Christian upbringing. By having faith in your home makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
You know, bringing up your children, especially today. But we had total different upbringings, and so I grew up very poor. My mother struggled, worked usually 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet there's a total of, I have 4 brothers and sisters. And so it was very difficult for me sometimes. I mean, we didn't know where a lot of our next meal was going to come from. And at one point, when I lived in Chicago, my mother, we were so poor we had to live in the Salvation Army. And so my upbringing, totally different, totally different. And so, but I think it made me who I am today, and to know how to give back, because the people that gave to my mother and her children, you know, are the people that kept us fed and clothed and in a warm place to sleep at night. So as I grew into an adult and, you know, different gifts came from God, I knew in my heart that that's what I would always do, even when I was as poor as I could after I had gotten divorced and didn't really have a lot of money. I always made sure to do the stewardship through my church. And it was $5, but I gave my $5 because that's all I had.
Right.
And as you know, with giving to your church, it's what you can afford, and every little bit helps if it's $1 or $5.
Yeah. Jesus told a story about someone who gave all they had and it was little. And that was more than somebody giving out of their abundance.
Absolutely.
You saw the show, The Biggest Loser?
Yes, I saw the passion of those trainers, and I still have that in my heart. Fitness and passion. Fitness was still my passion, and I saw the joy they got from changing people. And I just looked over and I said, I'd like that again. And all she said was, find a way.
Wow.
So I made some phone calls to some people that were connected, so forth, in the fitness industry, and perhaps just had wise people, and I brought them around a big table at Spies, and the name was come up within the first 10 minutes. Somebody said, how about Fort Wayne's smallest winner, the opposite of Biggest Loser? I said, boom, that is our name right there. It's just been a rolling snowball ever since. I wanted this little weight loss contest, and it's evolved into this incredible, not only life-changing for them, but it has changed our lives.
I remember talking about it right when you were starting it. We talked and you said, you know, I want this to be a ministry. I want people to experience God and His restoration through it. And it's just been amazing how it's exploded and all the lives that have been changed because of it. And I want to unpack that. Did you bring Lutheran on right away as a sponsor, or was that come later?
I had a friend who was a member at my gym, Dr. Shugart, and he's FWO Spine Center. And I went to him, and I'll always remember this meeting. I said, Rob, I got an idea. I said, I want to have a weight loss contest, and I don't know where it's going to go, and I don't even know how it's going to help you. But, and he said, Rick, the way you ran your gym, I totally believe in you. He says, we're in.
How does someone even get considered to be on the show?
Well, really, all we require is that they be at least 50 pounds overweight. Then we have an application process of, the most important part is the 2-minute video. There's a lot of paperwork involved when Tina reads and studies what medicines they're on and so forth. We want to make sure they're physically capable. But if they're 50 pounds overweight and they provide a video where all of our trainers and nutritionists come together and we sit and watch, and we've become a pretty good judge of that a person's doing it for the right reason. They're sick, they're unhealthy, they're unhappy. And unhappy is probably the biggest one. Those are the only things we required. And from the beginning, we always wanted to make sure this was free, that it was never about money. It was never about a person paying to do this. We would cover their costs if they came to us and needed what we could provide. And this is the first season, we're proud to say, season 8, where we never lost one person.
Wow. Now they submit a video too
Yes.
of
A 2-minute video,
2
and
minute?
we've had everything from funny videos to somebody laying out all their medications out on their table and saying, I don't want to be like this anymore. You know, we've had diabetics that have been taking insulin shots for 15 years. He was a Fort Wayne police officer here in Fort Wayne, and by the time he ended our program, completely off all his shots. And there's no gimmicks, there's no shakes, there's no, you know, oh, eat this or, you know, special food. There's no magic. What the magic is hard work, food that God gave us, and exercise. That's it. You know?
Awesome. I was standing in line at a Youth for Christ event to talk with Coach Tom Crean. I was doing a little charity auction with him that night. And behind me was Coach Russ Isaacs, and I had to look at him 3 times. I said, Coach? And I said, what happened? And as he would say, he only told me he quit eating, but I didn't know that he was your last winner, right?
Season
Our
8.
oldest winner ever.
Really?
In the history of the program, yes.
Well, it's fitting for him because he can do anything he wants to do. He's an amazing
He's
man.
amazing, absolutely. We just did a speaking engagement with him at St. Francis for the exercise science majors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was just awesome. So it's just incredible how people's lives change as they become healthier. They feel better. They function better, and they engage in their lives a whole lot better at a much higher level.
Absolutely.
We always take a picture at the beginning of the season, and it always takes a lot of encouragement to get them to smile. Come on, smile, be happy, because they're scared and so forth. At the end, it's a whole, not only have their shapes and their sizes transfigured, but the joy and happiness in their face, and just you can see it in a picture. They're just glowing, and that's the best part.
That is absolutely awesome. You actually meet with people before you accept them?
We do. What we do is we go through all the applications, which are sometimes hundreds of applications. And what we do is we select 35 people, and then we have 2 behaviorists through Lutheran Hospital, and we do face-to-face interviews based on questions that we have learned over the years are critical for that person succeeding. And so out of the 35, then we select 25.
What a process.
Yes, it's quite a process.
Somebody says good process, good results, and that sure sounds like that's what's going on. Could you share a couple stories of restoration? I think we've talked about Russ Isaacs, we talked about the police officer. I think of Lori Whitman, who I know very well, and just absolutely is crazy about you guys. Can you talk about her journey?
With Lori, she came this close to quitting. We had a feel, we knew she was struggling, but I didn't know she was that close to just packing it in. And she'll tell you now that there was a day, and we've learned that our words are more powerful than we ever could have imagined, because we just say things from our heart and what God feeds us. And one day she was pushing a sled, and she'll tell you this story that I said, Lori, did you ever imagine you would be, it's a football sled with weights on it. I said, did you ever imagine in your life you would be doing something like this? And she said, no, Rick. And I said, you can do anything. She said, that was the day.
Wow.
The switch came on, and she kicked it ever since and is still doing it. I saw her yesterday. So we can never predict a person's success or failure. Sometimes we judge a book by its cover, and you have a feeling. We've been so wrong so many times. The person that we thought would be gone is now years later carrying on and being successful with weight loss and the ripple effect we talk about of helping others with the same struggles they had. So Lori is one of those that, and she'll tell you, she said, Rick, I was this close to just not getting up one morning and just saying, I can't take it anymore.
That's amazing. And she shared with me about all the things that have been transformed on the inside as well as she's gone through your process. It's a 15-week program. Can you take us through every day of the week, kind of what happens through the process of Fort Wayne's Smallest Winner?
Absolutely. Monday is weigh-in and nutrition class. So what happens is we start at 6 p.m. every Monday night. They come in, they're scared, they're nervous, and we do the weigh-ins just like Biggest Loser, where the women are in sports bras and shorts, and then the men are in their shorts. So of course, as you can imagine, not many people want to weigh in front of anybody,
Right.
but they weigh by teams. And so we do that weigh-in process, and most of the times it's very exciting. And then the last hour is a nutrition portion, and each week is a different topic. And so they turn in a journal, a weekly journal to their nutritionist, and each team has 2 nutritionists. So, I mean, it's amazing, and they can email them every day and get answers to any other questions that they may have or anything that they're doing. And so that's Monday. Then Tuesday, they show up if they need extra credit at 5:30 in the a.m. with Rick, and get an extra push before actual training starts at 6 a.m. till 7 a.m. And that goes Tuesday to Friday. And then we expect them to come back in the evening and do a second workout of some. They can select a class at Spiece, because Spiece is where we house Fort Wayne Smallest Winter. We've been very blessed by Spiece to provide free memberships to our entire
Wow.
program for 15 weeks. So Tom Spiece is a fan of Fort Wayne Smallest Winter since day one, and he's been very gracious, and their entire staff just really accommodates Fort Wayne Smallest Winter. And then on Saturdays, they have a choice to do a class of their choice, or we have to train them for a half marathon. All of them will run a half marathon
Oh my goodness.
on week
Somebody
14.
who's 50 pounds overweight will run a half marathon
Yes.
by week 14.
Correct.
And the training for that is 6 to 7 a.m. and the nighttime, and sometimes 5:30 to 6 if they come early with Rick.
Correct. But then we have running groups that
Okay, on Saturday.
No, on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Oh.
They have a choice. In the evening, they can select one, either Wednesday or Thursday, and then it's mandatory. All of them come on Saturday morning, and we have North groups and Southwest groups. So there's really no excuse that they can't come, because you're somewhere halfway in the middle to make one of the classes or one of the runs. And we start out with just a half a mile of walking, and then as they become more fit and they lose weight, that mileage increases, and then they will run a half marathon on week 14 before our finale.
If they walk a half mile on week 1, take me wherever there's a step up. So is it like halfway through week 7, are they maybe running 3 or 4 miles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and not everybody. I mean, everybody's at different levels. You spoke about Russ Isaacs. Russ fast walked, and he walked the entire half marathon.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's different levels, and even after week 2, you see some people that can run a mile, that could run 2 miles. We try to gauge it by each individual person, and our trainers are very good at that, to make sure to alleviate any type of injuries. So they're assessed daily when they're with us. We're fortunate that Andreas Lomar from Summit Physical Medicine is part of our group, and he's right on site with Spiece. So if we have any type of ache or pain,
Oh, wow.
we send him right over there. So it works out perfect that he can come up with a plan for them, so we don't end up with an injured contestant
That's awesome.
to take them out of the program, because that's the last thing we want. We want to help change their life with the 15 weeks that we're given.
Do you run too, or just you, Tina?
Just her.
Me. Yeah.
You also teach grocery shopping, is that right?
We have a few contestants that are on limited budgets, and from past seasons, they say, I can't, maybe I'm on food stamps or something, and I don't know how to use that. I don't know how to go into the grocery store. And I've taken several contestants over the years and shown them how to do it, because my mother had to do that when I was a child, and I know how to do those programs. And so I know how to utilize the money very well and get healthy foods, where they don't know that, you can go to Kroger's and get the 10 for 10. And it doesn't have to necessarily be fresh. You can use the frozen vegetables without the salt and the butter, frozen fruit without the sugars. I mean, but a lot of people don't know that. And our nutritionists as well are, great about helping them learn this process too. But sometimes people are embarrassed. They don't want you to know, hey, I'm on assistance.
Yeah.
And I understand that because I went through that myself, and I would be ashamed when I'd be at the store with my mother. Now they have a credit card, so nobody knows that you're on food stamps. Back then, you had a book where you had to tear it out, and everybody knew you were on food stamps.
Yeah.
And so that could be, embarrassing. But it's great that I can establish a relationship with them where there shouldn't be any embarrassment.
That's terrific. That's awesome.
And when Tina volunteers to do that, they say, "How would you know?" Knowing nothing of her background and where she came from, she shares her story, and then it just so you can relate. But in the beginning, it's a wall we have to break down, and they have to say, "Well, how would you know?"
Yeah, there's some big walls we have to break down a
I
lot
believe
because
it.
people, they look into your life where it may be now and don't know where anybody's come from, and that's something we like to break down in our program, that we're all equal.
Yeah. The program is a value of about $10,000 per person, and that person doesn't pay anything?
No, not a penny, ever.
That is amazing. And it's faith-based. I'd like you to describe how you offer the opportunity to exercise faith in what you're doing.
Well, the primary thing is we pray at the end of every workout. And at the end of every workout, it's a very emotional time for a lot of these people. Their tears flow when they're doing things they've never thought possible. So their hearts are very open at the end of a workout. And we all gather in. I say, put a hand on somebody. I say, act like we love each other. And we all come in, lay a hand. And I always toss up first, who would like to volunteer today? And it's amazing. The people start volunteering, and at the end, sometimes you get a guy to volunteer that over 14 weeks never once said one prayer. Now it's upon his heart to say one, and they'll let out this amazing prayer, and we're all like, wow, where did that come from?
Wow.
So it's a pretty cool experience. Like I said, the exercise breaks them, opens their heart to life change.
The barrier's coming down again.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't you have an atheist participate in because of
two.
this?
We've had more than one, and right on day one at orientation, we say, this is faith-based, it's free to you. We will say a prayer at the end, and if you're uncomfortable with it, you're welcome to slide away. Well, they always usually stay within earshot. It's a funny thing. They step back to kind of make a stand that I'm not a part of this, but they want to hear. They want to hear what's said. And several times the person that made it clear they didn't want to be a part of it became a part of it and ended up going to church. And
wow.
So it's pretty
And
neat.
and another thing we should mention, Mark Cleveland with the River, he's a pastor, part of our program, and he volunteers on his own. Him and his wife Carmen, they're wonderful people, and they take prayer requests. They'll meet with them in the morning before we even start working out to just pray with them.
Wow.
It's open to anybody, any faith. Just they'll meet on the gym side at 5:30. And they'll pray with the person, or if there's something going within your family, they'll ask the church to pray for them. And Mark and Carmen came to us and asked, could we be part of this program? And we're like, absolutely. And of course, you have different faiths that are all coming together. And in the end, all it matters is that we all become a family and want to help each other.
That's incredible. And you have no paid staff, is that right?
None.
But you put in 60 to 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about the volunteer staff is they keep coming back. So many of our people have been there since day one. And you'd think now we're starting season 9, that time evolves and people have to move and carry on. But the same people keep coming back, and they can't wait for the next season to start. Because I always tell them that we've seen this movie before. It's just new characters. We know how it's going to end. So we're so blessed that we have people with the passion that we have that want to come back and want to help. Every time a door closes, another one opens, and we've seen that over and over and over.
We have the best team ever. Without the team that we have, because we're all work together, and we always like to make it clear, it's not Rick and Tina Walters. It's the entire team that makes Fort Wayne Smallest winner. because without the team, truly the program wouldn't exist.
Amen.
We always use the comparison. Here we sit with these beautiful cars. I created a car, which was an idea. She puts the tires on, and our volunteers put the gas to make the car go, because it would just be a car
Right.
if you didn't have everything to make it move.
Beautiful.
And they do that.
That's beautiful. You conclude each season with the half marathon, and you turn that into a fundraiser for other charities, not your own, where nobody's paid
Right.
and everybody's volunteering, but for other charities. Can you describe how you do that?
Well, we don't give to the same charity every year because we feel like God's going to lay something on our heart of somebody in need through our program. So and we don't even tell the group of this until it gets near the end. And at the end, they're like this busy bee of people that want to give back because now they're so grateful. They feel their life's changed and they want to pay it back to somebody. So just one year we decided, let's let them pay somebody else back. And we always float it out there. If there's a charity that has touched your life in some way or shape or form, let us know. And let's consider this. And every year we kind of come up with new charities based on who's in the program.
We raised over $7,000.
Wow.
Well, we didn't, the contestants did. And this particular year, the Ewell Wilson Center.
Oh, love
which
Shirley
I know
Woods.
because we watched your
watched the
show
show.
with Shirley, and Coach has a very special bond with them. And we asked the contestants to submit a charity that they feel strongly about and why. And then we review the ones that come in, and the Ewell Wilson was selected, and Girls Rock here in Fort Wayne, and then Prostate Blue Ball Open was another one. So those were the three charities, and we divide the money up between those three, and then we present at the end we have the contestants present the check that they raised to give back to our community.
You're an amazing picture of giving generates giving. You inspire, model, and teach generosity through what you're doing. It's just incredible. I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing, everything that you've done. I hope you continue to do it for a long time. Do you feel like you will? Some days you probably think, what are we doing?
Some days, and we've looked at each other, and there's been bumps in the road, and we say, is it time to quit?
Yeah.
And as soon as we do that, somebody does something or a story comes to us, and we look at each other and go, it's not time.
Oh, Rick and Tina, I love you guys, and pray that you'll continue to be blessed as you give to help everyone find new joy in their lives.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us
for
and letting
having
us
us.
tell our
Absolutely.
story.